Hi, this is Paul Roebuck with InterNACHI. We're talking about red flag property inspection guides, and this is a six-part webinar series that we're presenting. This is part 5, so we invite you to join us for each of our webinars. You can go back and listen to them at any time. And I will tell you, if you have questions or comments, if you like the presentations, if you want to see more presentations, any topics that you may like to have, send them to us. Send it to me at paul@internachi.org. And we'll talk to our education department, see if we can come up with something that may help you in whatever area you may need help in or would like to know more about. So any type of item at all, send it to us, let us know. Okay, this is part 5, as I said, or part 6 series. So we're going to talk about fireplaces. So start with, there are several types of fireplaces. These are the common types. You have a freestanding, you have the open front, you have the open two-sided, you have open three-sided, you have open four-sided, you have prefabricated units, then you have the direct vent units. So there are several types of fireplace that you may see out in your area. These things can be built all different sizes and configurations, as you see here in my list I've shown you. But fireplaces is something that is part of our home inspections. Most fireplace structures are much heavier than what the house structure is, as pounds per square foot basis. And as they may settle some, even if the house doesn't settle, the fireplace sometimes, because of the weight, will actually settle down and cause a deflection in the floor or in the foundation itself. Settling by this type may cause a few hairline cracks where the edge of the fireplace meets the wall, but those are normally not that serious. But beware of any combustible materials that may be installed within 12 inches of the firebox. And those numbers change. The larger the firebox opening, the more space is required from non-combustible materials, or from combustible materials, I should say. So beware of some of those as you look at a fireplace. Those could be some safety issues. But beware of the hearths that do not match or that are not readily distinguishable from the surrounding floor. What this means, if you have a wood floor in a home and it runs right up to the firebox, that is a red flag. That could be a fire hazard, or carpet running up to it. Any type of floor that is combustible. Fireplace, a log could fall out. That could cause it to create a fire in a home. But hearth extensions, per the code, says it shall extend at least 16 inches in front and at least 8 inches beyond each side of the fireplace opening. But where the fireplace opening is 6 square feet or larger, a hearth extension shall extend at least 20 inches in front and at least 12 inches beyond each side of the fireplace. Again, that's in case a log were to fall out of the fireplace or something hot fall out and touch a floor material that is combustible. That would cause a fire. So be careful on that. And a lot of times during the inspection, we'll see that the homeowners decided they want to make the fireplace a viewpoint of beauty for people coming into their home and for them. Well, a lot of times they'll put some type of combustible material all the way around the hearth or all the way around the fireplace opening itself. It may look pretty, but it's still a fire hazard. So be careful on that. If you spot something like that, then write it up as a deficiency. Chimney terminations shall extend at least 2 feet higher than any portion of the building within 10 feet, but shall not be less than 3 feet above the highest point where the chimney passes through the roof. Now, that's a building code requirement. That's the International Residential Code section R1003.9. You can find these if you're not familiar with it, with the codes. If you have questions about something that you're looking at, you can go to Google as a search engine, and you can actually search for public codes, PUBLIC codes, and the codes will come up. And you can type in, if you're looking at a fireplace, you say, well, I don't remember if it was supposed to be 3 feet higher than the point where the chimney passed through the roof, or supposed to be 1 foot or something. If you see something unusual, a lot of time you go in to the public code section and you can find the code to actually reference and show your clients that, hey, this is an issue. So don't be afraid to look it up. Nothing wrong with pointing out the code if you've got it. Just make sure you have the right code that's applicable for whatever it is you're looking at. But any portion of a masonry chimney located in the interior of the building or within the exterior wall of a building shall have a minimum airspace clearance to combustible materials of 2 inches. Chimneys located entirely outside the exterior wall of the building, including chimneys that pass through the soffit of cornice, shall have a minimum airspace of 1 inch. And what this is saying, if you've got a chimney on the interior of a home and it goes up through the attic space, it's saying that you have to have at least a 2-inch clearance around it from any combustible materials. A lot of times, if we see a masonry type fireplace, brick, stone, whatever, going up through the attic, sometimes they'll be touching the framing members of the roof, or they may have actually braced the masonry products with the board being combustible material, touching it. So those are something you want to look at. The other thing while I'm on that, I didn't actually put in the presentation, but when you're in the attic at a fireplace, you should not be able to look down and see in the wall sections from the floor of the attic looking down. You shouldn't be able to see inside the wall sections of the house. If you do, then that's missing what we call fire blockage. And that would have to be installed. And that wall, all that does is prevents a fire from having enough oxygen to spread from the attic into the house or from the house into the attic and spread much quicker. So those can be sealed. I mean, you can use wood to seal it with. You can use insulation. If you've got something, if it's not a big opening, and you can shove some insulation down there just to prevent air movement, and that would help alleviate a fire hazard around the chimney fireplace sections. Okay, if a portion of the building are improperly sized, the wrong building materials used or proper construction methods are not followed, distress to a house can occur. Many times you'll see, walking up to a house, you look at the roof, you'll see it begin to sag. Well, there's a lot of reasons why the roof would sag. Could be the rafters were undersized. Could be that they were properly sized when the property was built originally. Maybe they had a wood shingle roof on it. They stripped that, put plywood decking down, and then put a heavy composition roof on top. Well, you just probably exceeded the load limit that roof was designed to hold. Therefore, it could cause some sags and deflections on that roof. Other times I've seen it where people have come in and took off a regular composition roof or a wood roof and put plywood decking down, OSB decking down on the roof, and then come in with tile. Well, you put cement tile or clay tile on a roof structure that was not designed for that, I guarantee it's not going to hold up very well. So you will start seeing movements, cracked rafters, sagging rafters, a lot of different things. The beams can be sagging, but sagging beams may be obvious during a visual inspection. They can easily be detected, especially if they're too much, if they're so much lower in the middle that the unevenness can be seen with the naked eye. If you see that, then there's definitely going to be an issue, something you should call out in your report. In a milder case, there may be cracks or separations where the beam connects to the frame of the house. That could also show that there has been some movement going on. But those are red flags, things that as you walk through a property and you're visually looking, you shine your flashlight on things, you may see some cracks and separation. Any of those things like that should be noted in your report. Sometimes it would be a deficiency. Other times it's just a comment that, keep an eye on this thing. It could be serious if it begins to separate or move. So, just depending on what you'd like to write in your own report. Remember that report is your report. And basically, as inspectors, I've said many times over before, we are inspectors, but we only report what we see. So keep that in mind. Just report it. It's better for you to report it and question it than not to report it at all. Electrical systems. When you're looking at electrical system, you want to check for any loose, damage, or malfunctioning receptacles or wall switches. A lot of times you can feel one that may be hot. You may even see burn marks or scorch marks on it where someone's had a something plugged into that receptacle outlet and it sparked or it caught fire and they moved the extension cord, but it may have been the actual receptacle device itself that was bad. So be careful. If you start seeing smoke and stains around them, it could be an indicator something's burning or heating up, and it shouldn't be that way. The other thing, if you look at the electrical system as you walk through a property, you want to look for any extension cords. A lot of times they'll run them under carpets or they'll staple them on the baseboard. They'll run them up and around the door frame, across the ceiling, through cabinets, whatever. Any of that stuff should be considered to be hazardous. And it's also illegal as far as the building codes are concerned. Those are definitely fire hazards. Extension cords are a no-no. Okay, let's switch over to the major mechanical system. Let's start with the plumbing system. You want to flush the toilet, make sure it's in good working condition. One thing I always like to do is grab the toilet bowl and see if it's loose on the floor. If it's loose on the floor, that's a deficiency. But you want to turn on all water faucets. But before you turn on those faucets, make sure you open the cabinet or look where, if you can get underneath the tub, look, see if there's any damage before you turn on water. Make sure the plumbing's connected. A lot of times we get surprised. You know, as I've said before, inspection's like a box of chocolate. We never know what we're going to find. So always open that and make sure it's there. See if the faucets drip or if they leak whenever they're turned off. See if the handles are loose. See if the hot and cold are reversed on the faucets. Of course, we know the hot be on the left-hand side of all the faucets, cold on the right. Does the water pressure decrease whenever you operate more than one fixture simultaneously? Particularly in like a master bedroom or bathroom, run the shower, run the tub, run a faucet at the lavatory, flush commode, watch that shower. If that water decreases, you probably want to make a note of it and tell your client about it, because that can be a little disturbing as a homeowner. Not that I've ever been there. I don't know how I know that, but just be cautious of that. If the water source is a private water well, have the nearest water district test the water sample for safety. Particularly if there's a pasture around where they have livestock, or if they have septic systems in the area, the water samples of a private well should always be tested for E. coli bacteria and tested. So that's another thing you can do and learn how to do on the InterNACHI website. And some of our training classes is how to inspect a private well. That always adds extra dollars to your inspection. Personally, for my fees when I did a water well, I would run anywhere from $175 to $250 per water well. And then I would also take the water sample and run it to a laboratory. I popped it for another $125 just for the water test. My lab that tested it only charged me like $15. But I charge because of my time and my expenses of driving to the lab, dropping it all, interpreting what the water well results were, and then sending it back to the client on my letterhead with my name signed to it. So be careful. Another thing I want to talk about while we're on the plumbing system, we talk about running all the water. Make sure you've got water flow. One major thing I will tell you, never leave the water running and walk away from it. A lot of times, and I've had complaints just recently here in the state where one inspector was running water in a bathtub upstairs, and he left it running and went outside to do his exterior inspection. Well, you can guess what happened. The tub overflowed, caused all whole kind of property damage. And of course, that inspector got in trouble with our state agency. Plus, the insurance probably is going to be involved in it to make the thing pay off. But never run off and leave water running. I had a client one time that I was doing an inspection, very nice home out in the kind of a ritzy area of the Houston market. And she wanted to run all the bathtubs, fill them up with water to see if they would hold water. And I asked her, so why do you want to fill them up with water? Can I run 3 or 4 inches with a stopper in, make sure it's stopped and it holds the water, and then make sure it drains well? No, I want to fill them completely up. Well, I told her I would not do that because it would be time consuming. And this was a large house. I've got 6 or 8 bathrooms, bathtubs. And I said, I'm not going to do that. I'll do my tests I normally do and let it go. Well, this lady took off on her own after I went through and did my inspection. She was filling up bathtubs. And yes, you can guess what happened. She ran off and left the bathtub running while I was downstairs going over my report with them at the end of the inspection, explaining the things that I had found. We heard water dripping through the ceiling in rooms next door to us. I looked at her. I said, did you leave water running in a bathtub? She said, Oh my goodness, I did. So she runs up, shuts the water off. But in the meantime, the water came through the drywall ceilings. And I mean, it was flooding. And downstairs, we had wood floors on screeds. That was expensive wood floors. Water got up underneath that floor and all over the floor. And even though we tried our best to get towels and mop it up, the damage was already done. So she admitted it, and they had to pay for the damage to it. But always, we can't watch the clients every step of the way whenever they go into an inspection with us. But be careful if you think they're going to do something like that. You might want to just kind of go behind and double check, even though it's more work on your part. Sometimes you can save an issue that this one calls for us. So just keep that in mind as you go around your inspection. Just a red flag, watch your clients. Okay, plumbing system. When a property has a water well, it's vitally important that to have the owner have the water tested for bacteria. Water may contain contaminants with bacteria, and the owner may not know about the contamination. If the bacteria has been building up for years, the owner's bodies could have built up an immunity to those bacteria. But the new people moving into the house, they may get sick right off the bat. So be careful as you do water wells. Like I said, have them tested, the water tested, and see what happens. Plumbing system. Does the water heater have a temperature pressure release valve, a TPRV? If not, that's a red flag item. That TPRV is just for that. It's for pressure buildup that can pop off and escape should the water heater overheat. Is the water heater 18 inches off the floor of a garage or a room adjacent to the garage? And it really doesn't matter, guys and gals, if it's electric or gas, the water heaters should be treated the same. And when we say 18 inches off the floor of a room adjacent to the garage, this is talking about having an attached garage on the home. If you have to walk through from the garage into the door going into the house, and that's the utility room or place where the water heater is located, that water heater at that stage should be raised 18 inches off the floor. The other thing on the water heater, make sure it has a overflow pan and it has a drain line that exits to the outdoors. On those temperature pressure release valves, a lot of times we test those and make sure that they function. An issue comes up with them, a lot of times they do not reseat, meaning they won't reset themselves, but they'll continue to leak after you've tested it. Sometimes you can tap on them lightly with a screwdriver handle or something and make them reseat. But if you can't see where the drain pipe for that temperature pressure release valve exits outside the house, and you can see the entire drain line, I recommend that you do not test those TP or valves. However, you should report that to your client. Most valve manufacturers say those valves are to be replaced every 2 years. You and I both know the homeowner's not going to replace those CMP valves until something goes wrong. So you testing it on a 5 or 6 or 10-year-old water heater, chances of it reseating and not leaking after you test it, probably slim. So be careful on those. Remember on the water heater, I'll tell you, we used to use the term the two-door rule. The two-door rule, the water heater must be elevated if you walk from the garage into a house. But when you walk through 2 doors, in other words, if you walk in the garage, open the door, go into a room, that would be a room. Then there's another door that goes into the house. That's a 2-door rule. After that second door, the water heater can sit on the floor of the property. But if it's before any of those 2 doors, the water heater has to be elevated at least 18 inches off the floor. That is a fire hazard that you should be aware of and be careful on. Realtors will tell you, and I've had them many times in my career, but that's an electric water heater. It doesn't have to be elevated. Well, yes, it does. There is an element on the bottom of the water heater, just like there's a flame on the gas water heater. The element, one spark. If there's a gasoline in the garage, it goes, the fumes get to that electric heater and it kicks on. That can cause a spark, and of course, there's an explosion. That's the reason for it. It's a safety issue. Garage, we store a lot of stuff in garages, and a lot of the stuff we put in there, we don't stop to think that it could be combustible, but it can be. Even a car, if a car leaked a little bit of fuel, that little bit of fuel could cause the water heater to ignite, cause a house fire, explosion, or maybe even worse. So please be careful on that. Don't get caught on missing something like that, because that is definitely a red flag for you. Okay, heating system. Locate the thermostat. Set the thermostat to heat. Increase the setting to 10 degrees higher than the present temperature reading on the thermostat. At that stage, the furnace should ignite and start to pump warm air through the room. You can measure that. I suggest you measure the heat and air in all the rooms to see if the flow and the heat temperature difference, cooling temperature, whichever one you're doing, is the same in the room, and how much variance there would be. Move the switch from heat to off. Wait approximately 20 minutes. Let the thing cool off for just a little bit, and then turn the thermostat back to the cool part. A lot of times we look for, and we're testing temperatures of the AC system to decide if it's functioning properly. We don't take AC and furnaces apart. We just look at them visually. We look at the flame in a heat exchanger. But on an air conditioner, we're looking at the installation of it. Is it installed correctly? If you take a temperature reading from the return and the supply vent, it should be somewhere, the temperature difference should be 15 to 22 degrees. You should not test the air conditioning system, a conventional system, if the outside temperature is below 60 degrees. This could cause damage to the compressor. Important that you realize that, because I know some of you will be watching this video will be in areas where it does get cold, snow, and freezing temperatures consistently for days after days. I'm in South Texas. We get maybe a few days a year of freezing temperature. So we still don't operate when it's 60 degrees outside. We won't turn that unit on, because the oil in it freezes and doesn't flow, and it can burn up the compressor. So a red flag for you. Just be careful on those. Okay, here's an interesting topic for us. It's a red flag, obviously, but safety glass. Safety glass with additional safety features that make it less likely to break or less likely to pose a threat whenever it's broken. We consider those to be safety glass. Common designs include toughened glass, laminated glass, wire mesh glass, and toughened glass was invented in 1874, according to the Wikipedia subject on it. And safety glass is something you want to look for at certain places that we'll look for as we go through inspection. I'm going to try to go through some of this and show you those locations to see if I can clarify where you should find safety glass. These are just some of them. Large window panes. You've got large, big pieces of glass, bay windows type, large pieces of glass, large patio sliding doors, windows that are next to doors, sliding glass doors, other doors that have glass, shower doors. That's a biggie. Shower surround glass is a biggie. Mirrors that are all subject to human impact. They all pose a potential safety hazard if they broke. Many times you'll find people glue mirrors on the wall for exercise rooms or whatever. Those mirrors, if they're not marked for safety glass, they probably aren't. And that's something you should write up, because if someone were to fall or get shoved or somehow hit that glass and it breaks, that's going to be broken into big shards of glass. It can cut them. I mean, it can be fatal. But all glass elements of a home located within 18 inches of the floor are to be safety or tempered glass. Tempered glass is 2 to 4 times stronger than ordinary glass. Tempered glass will shatter into pebbles instead of breaking into slivers. Those slivers is what will hurt you and cause someone to really, that could be fatally injured. If you've ever seen a car windshield broken, those pieces break into, they just kind of shatter, but it doesn't break into big pieces of glass. It's going to rip your arm off or anything like that, or cause real serious bodily injury. But if it's not safety glass, it will. So the word safety glass or tempered glass will have a monogram that's etched on all panes of the safety glass. You may have to search for it, but it's going to be there. In today's world, it's not always easy to see those etchings, but if you can't verify it or see a marking where it says it's tempered or safety glass, I would recommend you refer it to a glass professional so that they can verify that the glass is safety glass, or change it to a proper type of safety material. I would always take my flashlight, shine around shower doors, shower surrounds, You have to really look close. Sometimes it's right at the edge. Sometimes when they cut the glass, they cut the marking where you got a piece of it there. If I could see a piece of it looked like it said safety glass or tempered, then I was okay on it. But otherwise, it's not. But you take a large glass just on the edge of a bathtub, even if it's not safety glass and someone slipped in that tub, it certainly could cause a serious injury to those occupancies of that home. Is safety glass same as tempered glass? Well, also known as safety glass, tempered glass is often used in car windows, shower doors, glass tables, and other installations where increased safety standards are necessary. While the manufacturing process does not make tempered glass more resistant to force, it is not shatterproof glass or unbreakable in any way. So it'll break, but it's not going to break in big pieces of glass. If you've ever dropped a mirror, sometimes you'll see it break in big pieces. Those are sharp edges, and they will certainly cut you. So where in the home might you find it? If you see the illustration on the right-hand side of the screen, that's what safety glass looks like whenever it's broken. Laminated glass may be sometimes found in shower enclosures, but it's generally uncommon in homes. Tempered glass appears most often. It can be found in storm doors. A lot of times people walk through a storm door if they don't know it's there, and it's weird. I mean, you be thinking about something else, and all of a sudden you walk through and that door, clear glass, walk right into it. If it's not safety glass, they could break it, and that could definitely cause a serious injury. Skylights is another thing to look at. Sliding glass doors, even sliding glass mirrors in bedrooms that we see a lot of times, they have to be safety glass. And any unsafe location that you could visually see, if someone were to slip, fall, be shoved into, those locations should be something you write up at. Safety glass should be there. Safety glass should be found in the location considered to be, according to the 2006 version of the IRC code, subject to human impact. And it doesn't matter if it's 2006 or the 2023 codes. It's still going to be the same. If it's subject to human impact, then those locations, as well as their exceptions, are described there as hazardous locations, and it's in the glazing section. So again, if you want to find those, you can Google public codes and look for hazardous location of glazing or safety glass, and you can get all kind of illustrations. I know our InterNACHI illustration library has a lot of things you can go into and download and put them in your report to show these are locations. And I'll even have some here on this report, on this presentation. But how they break, this is just showing you how they crack or how they break. You can see the laminated, it kind of stays together. You can see the regular glass. If something hit it, that's what it's going to look like. And then, of course, the tempered glass, it's going to break into smaller pieces. I've actually seen glass companies, they will line their driveways behind their shop with broken safety glass because it doesn't hurt. You're not going to run over your car, get hurt, or walk on it, get hurt. So it's strange how they do that, but that's just something to realize. Now, here's showing you some safety glass. This is out of the code check book. Good illustration for you, but it's telling you about the windows, fixed windows adjacent to the slider, the door slides, whatever. Then this doesn't have to be safety glass. Here's side lights 24 inches from 60 inches, greater than 60 inches from the floor. Then that would have to be a safety glass. The SG up here, you can see the key, safety glass in, not safety glass. But here, a door that opens this away, swings out, that window next to it within 2 feet of that door, that's one that most inspectors miss, that has to be safety glass. Because if that door slams into that window, it's going to cause it to break. Now, this goes into, there's a bunch of different ones here, and it has to meet all 4 of these requirements. If the large window opening is greater than 9 square feet, or if the lower edge is less than 18 inches above the walk-in surface, or if the upper edge is 36 inches above the walk-in surface, and it's within 36 inches horizontal of walk-in surface, that would require safety glass. If it doesn't meet those 4 sections there, It doesn't have to be safety glass. Sometimes that can be a little confusing. Sometimes you just have to stop and study it, look at it, get it in your own mind that, hey, now I'm starting to catch on to it. But those are red flags for a big safety issue. Here's another code check. It talks about the safety glass. They're calling it SG. This is not safety. Some of the same things what we had on the other one. This is just another chart that you can get. You can go to code check and probably download it online, or other public codes will have it in the building codes itself, and you can get a copy of it. This talks about safety glass. This is like in a bathroom. This talks about not safety 2 feet from doors and greater than 5 feet from the shower. So if this window's 5 feet from the shower, it doesn't have to be. But all around that shower frame would have to be safety glass. So this is just another illustration of it, just something you can see. Put a photo with you with the words itself. Smoke detectors. Let's switch courses now and go to smoke detectors. The U.S. is a world leader in death from house fires. Smoke detectors can reduce the risk of someone dying in a house fire by at least 50%. So as you inspect a home, you want to definitely make sure that they have smoke alarms and make sure that they're working. It's an estimate of 1 in every 4 houses are equipped with smoke detectors. They just don't work. You ever walked into a place, you see wires hanging out of the ceiling, you know it's where a fire smoke alarm device was once installed. Yeah, once they go out, people can't figure out how to replace the batteries or which one it is, or it becomes annoying to them. They just remove the fire smoke alarm. That's something to be careful about, and make sure you write those up as a deficiency, because fire alarms are something that's needed. All right, common reasons smoke detectors may not work. The batteries may be dead, or the homeowner may have taken the batteries out because it was making too much noise. The vents are clogged with dirt, dust, or grease. Sensing chambers infested with small insects. All kinds of things happen. Smoke alarms are something we definitely want to look at, because that is a red flag. Let's talk about how to test those things. The test button test is not a true test on a smoke detector. Most manufacturers do recommend testing with their test button. So that is a test button. All you do is verifying that the noise comes out of the thing. In Texas, that's what we have to do. We're mandated by Texas rules and statutes, our standard practice, that we have to test the smoke detector by pushing the button. Now, I will tell you, if the smoke alarm device does not have a test button on it, it may be a monitor smoke alarm. You don't want to bother that. Don't use a smoke in a can, anything like that. Don't use a fire match, cigarette lighter, anything. Don't stick up there to see if it's going to get hot and kick off, activate. You don't want that, because it may, if it's monitored, it probably call the fire department, police department out. Then you're going to have to explain what you just got through doing. Most of the time people do that. They only do it once, and once the events begin to unveil themselves to them, they stop doing that. If a smoke detector vents are clogged with dirt, dust, grease, or insects, smoke will not activate the alarm. But pressing the test button will usually result in the alarm sounding. So that's what we're talking about. Pushing a button is not the correct way according to testing them, but yet that's what the manufacturer says do. And that's, it may be a comment you want to put in your report that I tested the smoke alarm by pushing the test buttons. The best way to test smoke detectors using an aerosol product has been tested and approved by a recognized testing facility, such as the Underwriters Lab. You better have some caution when you do it, though, when using this method, because if it's monitored, it may call the fire department, as I mentioned earlier. By doing this simple test, you can find out if your smoke detectors is in one of the 16 million homes in America that are estimated to have faulty smoke detectors. So that it's your inspection. You can go as far as you want to by testing the thing. Test buttons usually is the best way. The replacement batteries and smoke alarms. The battery and smoke detector should be changed no less than once a year. Usually we pick and tell our clients either when spraying forward, the time changes, or when the time changes to where it rolls back. Now, some devices today actually say the batteries will last 10 years. Whether it does or not, I don't know. I'll usually get back to a property in 10 years to see. But the best way to change that battery is when your clocks move forward or backwards. Any smoke detector that's over 10 years old, they should be replaced, period. So if you look up, you got a house that you know is over 10 years, the smoke detectors are kind of yellowish color because they change colors over time. That's probably where you need to go in and just say, hey, recommend upgrading your smoke detectors for personal safety. The other thing, if you test a smoke alarm, is that you want to hear, if you activate a button today, the smoke alarms in newer construction, probably from 1990 to today. I mean, it's not new, so much new, but more recent homes. The test button, you push it, it also should activate not only that device that you're pushing the test button on, but it should activate all the devices throughout the house. So you hear push one, you should start hearing it go off into the different rooms of the house. If you don't hear that, then they're not interconnected. Today, they have to be interconnected where if one activates, it activates all of them throughout the property. Why they do that? Because we learn from mistakes. Children had a fire in a closet of a bedroom one time, and that house caught a fire. Smoke alarms going off in the child's bedroom, but the parents' bedroom's on the other side of the house, and they never heard it. So it got to be really bad for the house of the fire and for the kids. So, that's why today they have to be interconnected, meaning if one goes off, they're all activated at the same time. So expected life of smoke detectors, these units have gone through millions and millions of test cycles checking the immediate surrounding for smoke. Even smoke detectors powered with household currents and a battery backup, they still need to be replaced after 10 years. So 10 years is kind of the rule of thumb on smoke alarms. So if you're inspecting a house that's over 10 years old, check on those smoke alarms. And you may want to tell them that it's time to change them out, upgrade to enhance your family's safety. It never hurts. I mean, smoke alarms are not that expensive. Homeowners can easily exchange these. It's pretty easily done. So don't be afraid to tell them that, because that, to me, that anything safety of the family, buying that home or living in a home, that should be a red flag for us as inspectors. The other thing is carbon monoxide detectors. Carbon monoxide detector, or CO detectors, we often refer to them, is a device that detects the presence of carbon monoxide gas in order to prevent carbon monoxide poisoning. When there's incomplete combustion, CO is produced. CO is something that's colorless, odorless, and it's known to be the silent killer. You don't see it, you don't smell it, you don't hear it. So if you don't have a CO detector in a house, you could just begin to get real sleepy, real tired, go to sleep, and just never wake up. That's generally what CO poison does to us. It's virtually undetectable unless you have a CO detector. The International Residential Code now requires carbon monoxide detectors in newer construction where a fuel burning source is present, or get this one now, guys, listen to this because this is a change on it, or when a home has an attached garage, regardless of the fuel source of the home all being all electric. You heard me correct. It doesn't matter if his house is all electric or if it has gas appliances. Either one, if it has an attached garage to the home, today it requires carbon monoxide detectors. Now, you can have carbon monoxide and smoke detectors that are combined. In some of the homes today that you test and check these out, if you hit the test button, it may come on and say smoke alarm, and you'll hear it chime in the other parts of the house. And then after it gets through, then it comes on and says CO detectors, telling you it's working. But in other words, if you're doing a house with an attached garage, there should be a carbon monoxide detector somewhere in that home. Okay, here's another one that's a safety issue for you and I. Pull down attic stairs. In our area, we have these common in homes, but the pull down stairs, one of the first things you want to do is you open this stair down, let this thing open up. You want to take your flashlight and start looking at all around the edge of here where this staircase is attached. Pull down stairs should be installed with 16 penny nails or 1/4 inch, 3-inch long lag bolts. Anything with a screw head to it is an improper installation. 99% of the time we look at these attic stairs, someone has put it up with either drywall screws or deck screws. And neither one of those are designed to hold the weight to pull down if someone gets on these stairs. So if you see a head on it that has screws, you put a screwdriver to, that's an improper installation. Write it up. This is what I put in there. If you look closely on these stairs, on the lid, as you open the staircase, there's a sticker, probably a 4 by 5 inch decal that they have stuck to those stairs from the manufacturer. It tells you exactly this method of attachment, and it even tell you where they should be nailed or screwed into the frame to hold it up. So be careful. Those things are hazardous. There can be no field modification to it. If a section of the steps broke, if the end of it is cut off too much, for any reason, there cannot be any field modification to it. The unit has to be completely replaced. Staircases today, if you get one that's a 350-pound rated, fire rated staircase, I'm being told that the price to buy it is over $1,000 today. So you don't want to miss that, because that's a big hazard, and you really want to be careful on those staircases. You be careful as inspectors, because we don't want to lose any of our inspectors, something like that. All right, I want to say thank you for attending our webinar. I hope you've enjoyed it, and will join us for the final part 6 of our series. And my name is Paul Roebuck. I'm with InterNACHI. I'm the Texas Education Director. And if you want to email me your thoughts, or if you have comments, or if you'd like to know more about something that we've talked about, or maybe you have a new topic you'd like for me to present, email me. My email would be Paul, Paul, @internachi.org. All right. Thanks for attending. I appreciate it. We'll see you next time.